Andy Coker of American Speedy Printing setting his stopwatch for the start of E2A. Got some rags being iced down. This is the 7-Eleven camp. Looks like they've got problems with overheating of maybe the gearbox. Let's see if we can hear from Steve Reynolds, the driver. He can tell us what's happening. Steve, problems in the gearbox.
Yeah, it looks like we might have had a failure in the oil cooler. I don't have an oil temperature gauge for the gearbox, just a pressure gauge. Pressure read fine, but as you can see, the gearbox is, the oil is almost boiling in there.
Well, plus you had to stay out there so long.
Yeah, it seemed like forever, you know.
So more than likely, we will not see the 7-Eleven in Heat 2A. Danny Walters, one of the crew members. Here's Jim Cropfield getting wired in and belted in and buttoned down for 2A in the brand new Miss Budweiser. Jerry Hopp going out hoping to get some more points in the Oboy Alberto. And Scott Pierce already with 400 points today, going out hoping to get maybe another 400. And Andy Coker, American Speedy Printing. 6 boats are slated for the running of E2A. Andy Coker, as we said, a rookie in his first year of unlimited hydroplane racing. Todd Yarling in the Joe Ritchie Spirit of Detroit, based out of Madison, Indiana. Jim Saddam, the owner of that boat. Jerry Hopp, pretty good day so far. Oh boy, Alberto had a great start in Heat 1A, the original running of that heat. Steve Reynolds in the Miss 7-Eleven with 300 points for the day. Would love to take a first here in 2A, if the boat will run. Jim Cropfield, 3 times inducted into the APBA Hall of Champions. He's one of the best. And Scott Pierce of Executone Telephones out of Seattle, the young 30-year-old. We have 4 boats coming around the turn setting up for the start, so the 7-Eleven and the Joe Ritchie Spirit of Detroit are not out there. It'll be a 4-boat heat, but it should be a good one. The Budweiser, Jim Cropfield, you heard the gun. Here comes the Executone Telephones for the start of Heat 2A. Executone Telephones, second from the left. The Budweiser on the right of your screen in lane number 1 as they go around the first turn. This could be a great race between the Bud and the Executone, fairly close in qualifying times, 121 and 125 respectively. Budweiser coming in at 125 as he goes around the turn. Look at the Executone, very close to the Budweiser in lane number 2. The Bud with that enclosed cockpit and Jim Cropfield at the wheel. Going down the back chute, good race. There's Scotty Pierce on the outside going down the back chute as they head into that second turn. Very turbulent water out there. The winds can play tricks on you. The Budweiser holding well, though, that brand new boat. This is really the first taste of competition for the Budweiser. The Executone Telephones in lane number 2 coming down to complete lap number 1. The Bud and the Executone Telephones. The Budweiser with the lead. Cropfield ahead of Scott Pierce. Third place, American Speedy Printing and Andy Coker. It looks right now that possibly the Executone Telephone has the better speed in the straightaway, but the Bud's doing well in the turns. Cropfield, a keen driver, a nifty driver, especially in lane number 1. He holds his position as well as anybody, and he can hug those buoys with the best of them. Cropfield in lane number 1, the Executone Telephones in lane 2 with a slight lead now, going down the back chute for the second time. What a wonderful race. The Budweiser falling back a little bit, however. There goes the Executone Telephones and Scotty Pierce. A Merlin engine for the Executone against the Griffin engine of the Budweiser. Scott Pierce driving the race of his life right now, and he knows he's going against one of the best in Cropfield. Scott Pierce, a very, very good limited driver, has done a lot of competitive racing in that level. Has not done that much deck-to-deck racing in the Unlimiteds, however, and it's a different world compared to the Limiteds. But Scott Pierce in first place here in E2A in Syracuse, New York. There's the battle for 3rd and 4th. Third place right now, the American Speedy Printing and Andy Coker against Jerry Hopp and the Oboy Alberto. The Budweiser falling back. Looks like Cropfield's trying to switch lanes. Yeah, he's gone to the outside, trying to pick up on lane number 2. In the meantime, coming around the south turn, you see the lead by Executone Telephones. Jim Cropfield trying to get used to that new boat. It's got a lot of dialing in to do yet. They've got to do a lot of things to the sponsors, lighten them up a little bit before it'll be running the kind of speeds they want. And I'm talking about laps of 130, 135, even higher in competition. Executone Telephones, first place with Scott Pierce. second place, still the Budweiser. Keep an eye on Jim Cropfeld getting out into lane number 2. He likes to be on the outside. Can drive well in lane number 1, but it's a little tougher for a driver who is ahead of him to see that boat coming up on the outside. However, a nifty, very healthy lead right now for Executone Telephone. Keep in mind, too, this is only Heat 2A, the final preliminary heat. Crunch time comes during the final, of course, and that'll be our next race. The Budweiser, as you see the Executone crew watching, is beginning to pick up a little bit. Yeah, Cropfeld coming up on Scott Pierce on the outside as they go around another turn. Both boats around 115 miles per hour on this, so this is the fastest heat by far of the day. Scott Pierce not looking back, going down the back chute now, holding on to first place in Heat 2A. American Speedy printing in third place, going by in the foreground. Here comes Jim Cropfeld in the backstretch. In lane number 2, he's moved slightly ahead of Pierce. I'm really surprised to see this kind of race so early in the day. They want to save those engines. The Budweiser has burned up a couple of engines in testing here at Lake Onondaga in Syracuse, and I know they want to be careful for the final, but right now, nice little battle going between Cropfeld and Scotty Pierce coming down the main chute. They're about to complete lap number 4 of this 5-lap heat. The Budweiser, Jim Cropfeld. The Executone crew, they know they've fallen back into second place, but this one isn't over yet. Look at this, Cropfeld holding on to lane number 2. You can hear the crowd in the background getting to see some wonderful racing. That's Cropfeld, a 5-time national champion in the limited level, driving the very famous Country Boy limited boat in the 225 cubic inch class. He's in first place now ahead of Scott Pierce. He's still holding in lane number 2, however, so Scott Pierce has the lane if he can get the horsepower and the speed going down the back chute to catch the Budweiser. There you see the rough line on the part of the Budweiser. Things like that you won't see once it's dialed in a little bit better. Riding a little heavy on the sponsons, as we said earlier. The skid fin digging in. You see the Oboyo Berto. It is dead in the water in the south turn. The Budweiser having to go wide. Executone Telephone on the inside, and now it's a sprint for the finish line. Executone Telephones, lane number 1. The Bud in lane 2. Here comes the finish between Pierce and Cropfeld. It goes to the Budweiser, winner of Heat 2A. So the Budweiser with a perfect day so far. 800 points, 2 first-place finishes. Executone Telephones with a second place. And doing himself proud was Scott Pierce in the Executone. Let's take another look at that incredible finish between the Bud and the Executone Telephones. The Budweiser took the lead about 30 feet in front of the finish line, as you see here, just getting the victory. Down to Jim Hendrick in the pits.
Let's find out exactly why that was a run for the roses.
Too bad it wasn't the final heat, eh?
Oh, listen, did you know, when did you make the move on it? What happened?
Well, I watched, I thought we'd kind of run easy for a couple laps and feel each other out, but Scotty decided to go ahead after about halfway through that first lap, so I said, well, go ahead. I laid back and watched what he was doing, and I thought, well, I would be better off. He saved me plenty of room on the inside. I thought, well, I would be better off on the outside.
Why did you come back to the pit so fast?
Well, I had to come across the last turn on turn 4 on the last lap. I had a backfire, and that's bad news, so I came in.
Quite a battle with Scotty Pierce, and I believe right now Don Poyer's with Scotty.
Scotty, that was probably one of the most tremendous races I've seen since maybe 1973-74.
Well, we didn't finish first, so it wasn't that tremendous to me.
But it was a great performance, though. I think you gave the fans there an awfully great show.
Yeah, and it was real good to, you know, the Executone Telephone boat ran good, and it was good to see Miss Budweiser ran good. We were running pretty good out there.
A key here, though, is you got a feel, finally, of what the Bud can do, right?
Mm-hmm. So we got to see what we have in our bag of tricks for the next heat, don't we?
A new feature for 1985 is on deck. That and more as we continue from Syracuse, New York. Welcome back to Syracuse. I'm Don Poyer along with Jim Hendrick. You see the Oboyo Berta going in for the final, and of course that means Executone against the Budweiser. The two, Cropfeld and Scott Pierce, going head-to-head again.
Here comes the rematch. Where do you want to be now in the start for something like this?
Well, last time I was on the inside. I think I'm going to go to the outside this time. Get on the outside of Scott. I like running out there.
Is it harder for him to see you when you're on the outside?
Yeah, that's what I like it.
Scotty, on the rematch, where you want to be now on the start?
Well, the inside's the fastest way around the racetrack, but I don't want to get caught up in traffic, so I'm going to go for an open hole.
Good luck.
Thanks a lot. We'll do her again.
Okay, you got two hot boats that have proved themselves. Time to go to work.
I know. Mom, give me a win. I need some help.
Where you want to be? Scotty says he wants the inside.
Well, you know my philosophy. You just got to be at the starting line as fast as you can go when the gun goes off, and then take it from there. It's 5 laps. It's anybody's race. Hey, it's final heat. Let's go have
Good
a
luck.
good time. Thanks, Tom.
Go get him.
Here are the boats eligible for the final here in Syracuse. A 6-boat heat. But what do the people here in Syracuse think? Who will win?
Budweiser.
No doubt, Miss Budweiser.
Executone. Naturally.
Budweiser.
Graffiti printing.
7-Eleven.
Executone!
The Executone.
I think Miss Budweiser.
Executone. Yeah, like Budweiser, but it takes turns too wide.
Probably Budweiser.
Executone.
Sorry, that boat won't be eligible. The final heat coming up. Tone Telephones and Company, 6 boats healthy for the final heat. And here we go with a start. The final in Syracuse. The 3 leading boats, lane number 1, the Budweiser, lane 2, Executone Telephones, lane 3, 7-Eleven, and Steve Reynolds as they come into the first turn. Look out, the Executone Telephones got cut off and washed down by the rooster tail of the 7-Eleven. We'll have to wait and see if we get a ruling. Steve Reynolds, slight lead. Budweiser on the inside. He goes way up on the left spots, and we'll have to get a ruling on that. He may have been cut off by Steve Reynolds as well. Jim Kropfeld doing his best to keep the engine going. That Griffin engine inside the new Budweiser. American Speedy goes by, moving into second. Executone Telephones in 3rd place. And in 4th place is the Budweiser. Kropfeld somehow kept that engine running and is still racing. Steve Reynolds in 1st place in the Miss 7-Eleven, the turbine-powered boat out of Seattle, Washington. 2nd place, Executone Telephones. Back in 5th place is the Joe Ritchie Spirit of Detroit with Todd Garling aboard. So we'll have to get a ruling on whether or not Steve Reynolds cut off 1 and/or 2 boats going into that first turn. Reynolds, who began racing in the Limiteds back in 1975, moved up to the Unlimiteds in 1979, getting a victory in San Diego aboard the Circus. He's in the lead right now after a frustrating day trying to get those Lycoming engines tuned in and able to compete. He is in 1st place, but again, we'll have to wait for an official statement from the tower, a ruling, to see what the situation is. The Budweiser moving up the field. Currently, he is in 3rd place. Leo Boy Alberto going dead in the water in the first turn. Jerry Hobbs' day is coming to an end. But Reynolds, physically at least, still in 1st place in the final here in the Syracuse Thunderboat Classic. Reynolds hoping to get his 3rd victory. Is still in 1st. The winner last week in Miami is the Executone Telephones with Scott Pierce in 2nd place. Large lead now for Steve Reynolds ahead of Scott Pierce in the Executone Telephones, but again, we'll have to wait and see. The Budweiser in 3rd place, moving up against the Executone. You see the damage on the right fairing of the Budweiser. Badly beaten from the wall of water that it was buried by when it got cut off, evidently, allegedly, by the 7-Eleven. Executone Telephones, they've got problems. Scott Pierce dead in the water. Bill Worster, the owner of the Miss Executone Telephones. Meanwhile, here's the race. Steve Reynolds going past the Joe Ritchie Spirit of Detroit, lapping Todd Yarling as he comes around the left turn and comes down the main chute. All right, now we have just gotten word. Yes, the 7-Eleven has been disqualified. Steve Reynolds disqualified for cutting off the Executone Telephones and the Budweiser going into that first turn on lap number 1 here in the final. So that puts the Budweiser in 1st place as he nears the Executone Telephone. Scotty Pierce dead in the water. Reynolds has pulled off onto the infield now. He was black flagged by the official tower, and he'll sit this one out. So the Budweiser falling back at 1 point to 4th place after going through that wall of water is now back in 1st place, and Jim Kropfeld a chance to pick up victory number 11 as an unlimited hydroplane driver. Steve Reynolds still in the cockpit of the 7-Eleven down near the pits on the infield. American Speedy going by. And American Speedy Printing now is officially in second place. So Andy Coker, a chance to get his second place finish, as he did in Miami just 1 week ago. Jim Crockfell, who began racing the Limiteds back in 1964 and then moved up a little more than 2.5 years ago to the Unlimiteds, driving for Bernie Little. Again, the damage on that right vertical stabilizer that holds up the wing. You really can't underestimate the power and the force of that water when you're moving at better than 150 miles per hour. You go into a wall of water with tons of water coming down on you. I would imagine Jim Crockfell is very glad to have that bubble over his head right now. The Budweiser hoping to make it a perfect day. They have 800 points, 2 firsts in preliminary heats. A victory here would give them 1,200 for the day. And of course, 3 victories and a victory in the final. The Budweiser winning the Syracuse Thunderbolt Classic. Jim Crockfell. Second place, Andy Coker and American Speedy Printing. So the Budweiser gets number 1. American Speedy Printing is second. Joe Ritchie Spirit of Detroit third. Executone Telephones fourth, but they are now the new national points leader with 1,500 points for 2 races. Let's go down to the winner's circle and hear from the Budweiser camp.
Jim, a heavy traffic jam going into that first turn, but you held on. How do you like your canopy now?
Well, I love the canopy, the guys. I tell you what, if I wouldn't have had a canopy, I probably wouldn't have a head right now. The Budweiser crew did a fantastic job. I could see it coming going in the first turn. A boat on the outside just came across, and I knew there was 2 of them between him and me, and I had lane 1. And I got in there, but he had a turning speed on me. When he came out, he just really got me bad.
Were you aware of the fairing problems back there, Bernie and Jim?
No, I couldn't see it, but when he went up that skid fin over there, he almost was clear up on one side. Steve Reynolds is a very good driver, and we've done the same thing to Steve unintentionally, and he damn well didn't do it intentionally.
No, he didn't look. He didn't know I was there. I think he thought he had the inside track, and I snuck up there and hung on. And
Well, regardless, it's 52 victories for you and number 11 for you, Jim. Congrats.
that's great.
It feels great.